I was a paper boy. I delivered the Oregonian in the morning. Whenever I opened my packet of papers, well, I'd always look what the headlines were. And I remember when the headline was that we had dropped the atomic bomb on Hiroshima. Any thoughts about war or thoughts about the military, it was far, far away. I was much more interested in what was going on in my life than what was going on outside of my life. I figured that when I graduated from high school, that I'd just kind of go on to college. I was a pretty dumb kid at that point in time. Finally, about 2/3 or 3/4 of the way through the summer, my dad grabbed me by the ear and took me down to Oregon State and got an appointment with a professor of naval science and got me signed up for Naval Reserve Officers Training Corps. He was very prescient in terms of what he did, because those that hadn't done what he had me do were drafted right out of Oregon State, and so they were drafted out to go to Korea. So I spent 4 years at Oregon State and the Naval Reserve Officers Training Corps, learning how to be a naval officer. The Marine major there that was head of the Marine contingent convinced me that I should be a Marine. I wanted to be an aviator, and Navy guys, when they graduated, had to spend a year in the fleet before they went to flight school. So I decided that I'd become a Marine. And so I did, and I got commissioned in June of 1955 as a second lieutenant in the United States Marine Corps. I saw the aviators and saw the Blue Angels, saw the McConnell story, decided that that was something that I wanted to do. Flying military airplanes was something that looked to me like would be something that would be very fulfilling. I was assigned to Whiting Field, which at that time was the primary field. My friend and I were the last two to fly the SNJ, which is the equivalent of the Navy equivalent of the T-6. It's a 2-seat trainer. I put my faith in the instructors and did what the instructors told me to do, and things worked out for me very, very well. Never forget my solo flight. The instructor would take us out to one of the outlying fields. We'd do a landing, and then he'd get out of the airplane and say, "It's all yours." And once I got airborne, I turned around and looked in the back to make sure that he wasn't there. B stage was minor acrobatics and practicing landing and taking off. C stage was acrobatics, where we learned how to do a spin and learned how to do rolls and loops. And the next stage was at Softly Field, and that was where we learned how to do formation flying, how to join up, how to break, and that was where we did our first night flying. To get my wings took a year, and then once I had my wings, then I went to advanced training. I had applied for jet training, and so we put it into Kingsville, Texas, another Naval Air Station where advanced training took place, and that was where I first started flying jets. I was going where the Marine Corps sent me, and was going to be happy with it. And as it turns out, I was very happy. I graduated from advanced training in June of '57 and went to my first squadron at El Toro. It was a Marine composite squadron. We had both photo airplanes and electronic countermeasures airplanes. The main mission of the electronic countermeasures airplane is to jam The other airplane in the squadron was the F9F8P. It's a photo airplane. Wasn't too long before I transitioned to the F9FP. This is an F9F8P photo version of the Cougar, and it's got 3 bays. It has a bay here, a bay here, a bay here. You can see there's bay underneath, and then there's likewise on the other side, so that photos can be taken out this side, can be taken vertically, and be taken out from the other side. And then there is the forward firing bay here. This was a very, very fun, very nice, very fun airplane to fly. The idea of the photo airplane would be to take pictures of targets for targeting, and then also take pictures of targets that had been struck to find out what sort of battle damage there were. July of 1958, we took our squadron, deployed to Japan, to a naval air station called Iwakuni. I've shot pictures all the way up to the northern island of Japan, Hokkaido. Pictures were for future use in case they were needed. The other half of the squadron, by that time we had gotten jets. The purpose of those flights were to fly up and down the North Korean coast and up and down the Chinese coast to take radar cuts to find out, so that we could place where the radars were. Then from those they could develop jammers in case we ever had to fight the Chinese or fight the North Koreans at that point in time. So I spent some time flying up and down the North Korean coast and up and down the Chinese coast. The Chinese did send up some MiGs, used to fly formation on us. After that happened, why then they sent the squadron from Atsugi they were flying FJ Furies at that point in time, and they escorted us for several missions until the Chinese quit coming up, and once that happened, why then we'd just go ahead and fly our missions, and they never bothered us again. Came back to the States, and I applied for Naval Postgraduate School at Monterey, and spent 2 years at Monterey and got a master's in aeronautics. And then from there I went to my first tour in Vietnam.
In South Vietnam, the United States and some 34 other nations of the free world are committed to thwart the Viet Cong attackers, who are aided and abetted by the communist-controlled government of North Vietnam.
I was the assistant wing maintenance officer for the 1st Marine Aircraft Wing. I also got set up with the Air Force on the other side of the field at Da Nang. They were called the BS bombers. What they did is they made Psy war broadcasts and dropped leaflets. So if there was going to be a village that was going to be bombed, we'd fly over and drop leaflets to let the people know so that they could leave. They were Helio Couriers was the name of the airplane, and it was a two-pilot airplane. And I flew with the Air Force guy, and so that's where I got my flight time and learned how to make Psy war broadcasts and drop leaflets. Yeah, high wing monoplane, slow and very, very maneuverable. We put flak jackets down over the seats so that we'd sit on flak jackets in case one of the magic bullets came up through the bottom of the airplane. I finished my tour at Da Nang and went back to the States and was assigned to Headquarters Marine Corps, and I left Headquarters Marine Corps and went to Cherry Point and got checked out in the F-4 and went down to Beaufort and deployed with a squadron out to Yuma to do weapons training out there. And then I redeployed to Vietnam in 1970. So I was there 66, 67, and then went back 70, 71.